Hello, viewers out there. You're welcome to our channel today. This is Family Aspect, and I'm your host Charles. Again, I want to be sharing something with you on your marital journey as a married woman. We are on episode 2 today, talking about your journey as a married woman. It's a lot to say, a lot to let you understand what is expected as a married woman. Now, in this episode 2, I want to make some point clear to you about your marriage. Now, before I continue, I want you to understand that the first episode we talked about is vital to this particular episode 2. So if you haven't watched episode 1, I encourage you to watch the first episode, and then you come back to this episode 2 and watch along with it, because it will help you a great deal. A lot of information that has been shared in episode 1, and you want to add that to this particular episode as well. So your journey as a marital wife or as a married woman is so important to understand what it entails, and I'm going to be sharing more of that with you in a minute. So I'll be right back. Welcome back. First, I want to talk about some things that are very vital about marriage. Marriage is the voluntary journey of forces with a godly man you love to fulfill your God-ordained destiny. That's what marriage is all about. I say that again. I say marriage is the voluntary journey of forces, of abilities, of specialties, of uniqueness with a godly man you love, the man that you chose to fulfill your God-ordained destiny. That's what marriage is all about. The sole purpose of marriage is for you and your husband to join your spiritual, mental, financial, and emotional forces to fulfill God's plans and callings and purpose for your lives. That is the sole purpose. What I just said to you now, this is the primary reason for marriage. The rest of the story, the rest of every other thing in marriage are secondary. The primary purpose of marriage is what I just said to you. The joining of forces. You and your husband joining forces. What are these forces? Your spiritual forces, your mental forces, your financial forces, your emotional forces. Join together to fulfill the God-given plans, callings, and purpose for your life. Now, not to know God's given plan and purpose for your life is to err in fulfilling that purpose, because what you need to understand to fulfill that purpose is the ability, the spiritual force, the mental force, the financial force, the emotional force, all of these abilities given to you, and you join that force with your husband, and that makes it unbeatable team to fulfill that call, that calling, that plan, that purpose that God has for you. That's the sole reason, or the primary reason for marriage. The rest of them, I said, are history. The rest of them are secondary. The main purpose is this I just told you. Now, another point is this. The level of commitment demanded from you as a married woman is quite higher than that which is demanded, or that is demanded from you when you were dating or courting. Now, you need to understand, when you were dating and courting this man, you had a very limited expectation. A very limited demand was placed on you by that responsibility in the dating season or levels that you were. But when you got married, you took up a higher responsibility. A higher commitment is demanded from you. And that is what you should think about as a married woman. But the problem is most women still think as though they were dating. So the thoughts and the mentality, the emotional state, the spiritual state, everything, all of those things they have when they were dating, the way they were thinking, and it's still the same thing after they got married. But that is wrong, because you see, you're missing a point. The level of commitment demanded from you as a married woman is quite high. Higher than that which you had when you were dating. That was actually demanded from you when you were dating. So you need to understand that. So don't leave your relationship or living as a married woman as though when you were dating or courting. Sometimes, how do we do that? We say, well, when we were dating, when we were earlier on in our relationship, I never did this. You didn't ask me that. You didn't, no. You have taken up a higher responsibility. Marriage is, first of all, understand this. Marriage is first a commitment to God and then a commitment to your husband. You need to understand that as a married woman. It's a commitment to God first and then your husband. So you stood before God and vowed to love your husband for the rest of your life, I believe. For those of you who did your wedding in church and received God's blessings in your wedding. Or when you did your traditionals, you stood before your parents, or stood before the elders and the gods of your land. And you take a vow to love your husband for the rest of your life. Now, you are held accountable for that. You are held responsible to that vow. You cannot fail now. You need to think like that as a married woman. You are held accountable. You are held responsible for that. Now, that is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Because marriage is pleasurable if you know how to function in it. Now that you're married, look at it this way. Now that you're married, you cannot share your marital commitment between your husband and your friends, your parents, or siblings. I say that again because this is where a lot of married women and married men miss it. When you are married, you cannot share your marital commitment, whether you're a woman or a man. You cannot share your marital commitment between your wife or your husband with your friends or your parents and your siblings. You don't treat your parents as your husband or as you're supposed to treat your husband. You don't give you don't give commitment or make commitment to your parents more than you do to your husband. You don't make commitment to your friends more than you do to your husband or wife. You don't make commitment to your siblings more than you do to your husband or wife. Your husband, listen to this, after God, your husband comes next in your life, even before your children. This is the order. You say, is that not too harsh? What's wrong if I take my children, if I give commitment to my children more than my husband? You're wrong. To think like that is to miss the point. Is to dissolve the order that God has put in place in marriage. There are many wives and women, married women, doing that all around the world. I understand that. That's what I'm talking about it anyway. Because they don't understand the reason for the suffering. They don't understand the reason for the pain, the reason for their unhappiness in the marriage. They don't know. They blame it on something else. But look at it this way. After God, your husband comes next. Even before your children. You need to understand that. Why? Because without your husband, there wouldn't have been any children at all. Or without the man, there wouldn't have been any children at all. You need to understand that he comes first before the children. That doesn't mean you don't love your children. That doesn't mean you won't take care of your children. No, we're talking about priorities here. We're talking about putting things in order here, the way it should be. The moment you put any other person, I want you to notice this. The moment you put any other person or interest before your husband, you stray off the chosen paths. You stray off the chosen paths of total commitment to your marriage. You stray off. And that's where a lot of women have strayed. And many women strayed without knowing the consequences of such actions. Listen to this. You want God to be involved in your marriage because most of the times we don't think that that's what we want until things start happening in our marriage. When things start going wrong, that's when we need God to be involved in our marriage. But yes, He wants to, because He's the one that actually originated marriage in the first place. But for God to be committed to your marriage, I'll tell you this: you have a responsibility. You must fulfill your own side of the agreement. You must fulfill your own side of the bargain. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. See, your bargain is this: to love and respect your husband. Your chosen husband, your own husband. Your husband should be your boyfriend. Your husband should be your pal. Your husband should be your best friend. And lots more to you. That's the order. That's what you're supposed to do. He is your spiritual covering. Understand that. And the prince of your home. Now, there are many marriages that are not Christianity based. They don't believe in God or all of that stuff. I understand that. But here's the thing. Whether you agree with me or not, be it religion or not, listen. The man, your husband, has been originally by nature of being a man, as the leader in your home. He is seen as the leader. He is your covering. He is the one that is like a hen covers his chick, the baby chicks, you understand, or broods over the eggs. That's the way a man is in a family. So he is your spiritual covering and the prince of your home. So when you give him the opportunity to fulfill his role, you will be fulfilled and happy. That's what you need to do. Find a way to give him the opportunity to fulfill his role as a covering, as a leader in your life, in your home. Let me tell you something. If you attempt to take away your husband's leadership, like many women do all around the world today, in their homes, because you are more successful, most of them are more successful, spiritual, and more emotionally mature than their husband. So what they do, they try to take over the leadership of the husband in their home. Let me tell you something. When you do that, you will be tampering with divine order. You will be tampering with ordained order in marriage, and it will be to your disadvantage by doing so. You need to be very careful with that. So watch out on the things you do. Watch out on the steps you take. And also take these things. Listen, think about these things that I've shared with you today. Think about them. Take them very seriously. I encourage you to do. Take them very seriously. Play this video again and again and listen to what I just said with you again. And you'll be amazed. If you want to be happy, I want you to choose to be happy. I want you to choose to be fulfilled. So choose to be fulfilled. Choose to be happy in your marriage. Oh, I have so much to share with you. But I'm going to continue on our next episode, episode 3. I will share more of this with you in episode 3. So we are still on your journey as a married wife. On your journey, we're talking about your journey as a married wife, as a married woman. Okay, that's what we're talking about, and there's so much to share with you on this journey. So if you like this video, I want you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and hit the thumb up button to like the video, and also share if you have friends and families who would like to watch this and like to hear this. Share with them. I will gladly appreciate your your support in subscribing and sharing and liking the video. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you again in our next episode, episode 3, on your journey as a marital wife or marital woman. See you then. Bye for now.